So now let's talk about Amazon Athena. So Athena is a serverless query service to help you analyze the data stored in Amazon S3 buckets. And to analyze this data, you're going to use the standard SQL language to query the files. Behind the scenes, Athena is built on the Presto engine, which uses the SQL language. So the idea is that users are going to load data into your S3 bucket, or you are going to load data into your S3 bucket, and then you would use the Athena service to query and analyze this data in Amazon S3 without moving it. So Athena is serverless and it analyzes directly your data living in your S3 bucket. So it supports different formats such as CSV, JSON, ORC, Avro, and Parquet, and possibly others. And the pricing is very simple. You're just going to pay a fixed amount per terabyte of data scanned. You don't need to provision any database again because the whole service is serverless. So Athena is commonly used with another tool called Amazon QuickSight to create reports and dashboards. So we'll see QuickSight later in depth, but Amazon QuickSight connects to Athena, which connects to your S3 buckets. Now, the use cases for Amazon Athena are to do ad hoc queries, business intelligence, analytics, reporting, and to analyze and query any kind of logs that originates from your AWS services. So it could be your VPC flow logs, your load balancer logs, your CloudTrail trails, and so on. So as an exam tip, anytime you need to analyze data in Amazon S3 using a serverless SQL engine, you can think about Athena. Now, I've talked about performance improvements, and you can actually improve Athena performance, and this is the exam will test you on this as well. So first of all, because you pay for the amount of data scanned per terabyte, you need to use a type of data where you're going to scan less data. And for this, you can use a columnar data type for cost savings because you only scan the columns you need. So therefore, the recommended formats for Amazon Athena are going to be Apache Parquet and ORC. And it's going to give you a huge performance improvement. And to get your files into the Apache Parquet or ORC format, you must use a service that we'll see as well in this section. For example, Glue. Glue can be very helpful to convert your data as an ETL job between, for example, CSV and Parquet. Now, also because we want to scan less data, we need to compress data for smaller retrieval. So there are different compression mechanisms you can use that I've listed it right here. Next, if you know you're going to query all the time on some specific columns, you can partition your data sets. And partitioning data sets means that in your S3 bucket, you're going to have the full path with slashes, and each slash will be a different column name with a specific value. And so you're partitioning your data in Amazon S3 so that when you query it, you know exactly in which folder, at which path in Amazon S3 you need to scan for data. So here's an example of data partitions. So we have flight data in Parquet format, and then we do /year equals 1991. So we partition by year, and we'll have one folder for each year. Then within each year, we'll have month. So month equals 1, and within each month, we'll have days. Days equals 1. And so when I do a query on Athena, and I filter for a specific year, a specific month, and a specific day, then we'll know exactly to which folder in Amazon S3 to get the data from, and therefore we'll only recover a subset of the data. Therefore, we'll have really, really good partitioning. Finally, the last performance improvement you need to do is to use bigger files to minimize the overhead. So if you have many small files in Amazon S3, Athena is not going to be as performant as if you had larger files, for example, 128 megabytes and over, because larger files are easier to scan and easier to retrieve. Another feature of Amazon Athena is the federated query. So you know that Athena can query data in S3, but actually you can query data anywhere. For example, in relational or non-relational databases, you can query objects and custom data sources, would it be on AWS or on premises. How? Well, you use what's called a data source connector. It's a Lambda function, and that Lambda function is going to run the federated queries in other services. So that could be, for example, CloudWatch Logs, DynamoDB, RDS, and so on. So it's very powerful. For example, we have Athena here, and we have a Lambda function, and you have one Lambda function per data source connector. And then through Amazon Athena, you can run a query across Elasticache, DocumentDB, DynamoDB, Redshift, Aurora, SQL Server, MySQL, HBase on the EMR service, or any on-premises database directly from Athena, as well as, of course, Amazon S3. And you can do your joins and you can do your computations and so on. That's why it's called a federated query. And then the results of this query can be stored into your Amazon S3 bucket for later analysis. So that's it for Amazon Athena. As you can see, it's a very powerful service. I hope you liked it, and I will see you in the next lecture.